Good morning, Gunners. It's rolling around quickly now. 3 days since our last game. It's time to travel to Goodison Park and take on Everton. It's going to be a tough one. Let's have a look at how it's going to pan out. This is Blog On You Gunners. In terms of lineup, I don't expect to see too much of a change from the game in which we managed to take a point from Southampton at the Emirates. I think Arteta was pushed into making some changes that he might not otherwise have made, particularly Xhaka owing to suspension, Bellerin likewise. He also took out Willian after a string of ineffective performances. I think we will see Pepe again. He got 3 shots off, I think. I read somewhere. He 1 on target, 3 shots in total. And given the lack of service for him, that seems to be a pretty decent return from the right. So I don't think there's anything that would justify removing him straight away. You might argue that Everton present more of an attacking threat than Southampton do, marginally, maybe. I don't know. And that for that reason, Willian might be a better shout, given that Pepe doesn't really like to be playing towards his own goal or tracking back. That's the only possible justification I can see for playing Willian, but at the moment, I would stick with Pepe, see what he can do. He's made a reasonable start. Let's give him a chance to show some more. Will Bellerin come back in? I would think he probably would. Ainsley had a decent game at right back, it's fair to say. A couple of times where he was absolutely skinned though for pace. Late on in the game, fair enough maybe, but his recovery runs on those occasions also left a lot to be desired. There's also occasions with Ainsley where his coolness borders on complacency. And we saw that a couple of times with some flicked passes in dangerous areas under pressure that gave the ball away on the edge of our box against Southampton. And he can well do without that. We need to be efficient in possession. We need to keep hold of it. We need to be playing away out of trouble. We don't need to be slack in those areas. And for that reason, for the defensive solidity, arguably that Bellerin provides, he may come back in. Although maybe the manager will give Ainsley another run out, given that he was one of the better, if not the best performer in the Arsenal defence on the day. Saka will obviously continue, injury permitting. I know he's played a lot of minutes and has taken a lot of knocks recently. Does he get a rest for this one? No, he probably sits the League Cup out next week. So he's going to continue on. He's in good form. Other than that, we may see Joe Willock on the bench again. We may see Emil Smith-Rowe, possibly not. And if Reiss Nelson is fit and firing again, maybe we see him on the bench. But other than that, I wouldn't expect too much of a departure from the team we saw against Southampton. There's a question mark over the centre of midfield. Ceballos had simultaneously a good and a bad game. Elneny had a pretty meh game, it's fair to say. But as a lot of people have said, he seems to play, or the way he plays reflects the level around him. Next to Thomas Partey against Manchester United, he looked like a world beater. Next to Ceballos, he didn't look like a world beater. You know, he was making unnecessary fouls. He was a little bit headless in the way he was going about his business. So, I don't know. We'll see on that one. I'm not sure there's too much that Mikel can do, so he may just stick with that, ever cautious of the threat that Everton possess. Speaking of threat, Everton are in decent enough form. They're in 5th in the Premier League at the moment, which is pretty good for them. I know they've been knocking on the door for years. Had a few fallow seasons under previous managers. Garcia, was it? Javi Garcia? Didn't do a fantastic job. Koeman didn't do a fantastic job. I think Roberto Martinez also underwhelmed. But they have a lot of talent. They've spent a lot of money on that squad. And Ancelotti is getting them playing more effectively than any manager before him or in the last 5-6 years. So they're dangerous and they are where they deserve to be. Arsenal, meanwhile, are in appalling form. You know, you don't need me to tell you, we've all sat and watched the last 10 league games in which we've stunk up the place. And I don't think it's going to get remarkably better in the space of a couple of games. We've been playing gradually better in patches of matches, but typically with our backs to the wall and in dire straits rather than going at it from the get-go. I don't particularly see too much changing given that we're still with that party. Martinelli's not quite ready for a first team return, and we're not in January yet when we've got the chance to bring some new faces in. So given that, it's still going to be tough, it's still going to be slow and difficult for us, but hopefully we can keep seeing incremental improvements at the very least. We've certainly seen better in terms of chance creation, and Aubameyang has scored, and it's probably the best chance he's had in 10 weeks, and he buried it. So if we can get him in the right position once or twice or 3 times in the game, great, but we've got to get him there, and that's been the problem for us and why our form's been so bad. In terms of the key men for this one, I have gone for Saka again. I know I've picked him out for a number of weeks recently, but I think he's showing against Southampton was case in point. He was as productive, if not more productive than anyone. His persistence, his trickery, his quick thinking, his ambition and endeavour that sets him apart from anyone else in the team who more often than not will advance 2 yards, check back and pass back into midfield or pass back to the 2 centre-backs. He's been willing to do a bit more than that. I'm not saying he's ripping up trees. His stats suggest, as you can see there, his goals and assists are woefully low. But that is a reflection of this team as a wider unit more than anything else. He's been excellent. We need him to keep being excellent. That we've put so much pressure on a 19-year-old speaks volumes about where we are. But this is going to be an opportunity for him to get at Everton. They are open. They've been conceding a lot of goals. I think I wrote about it in the blog that they've conceded more than almost anyone in the top half, I believe. They've got some weaknesses down their left in particular where teams have had a lot of joy. The teams that have beat them have had a lot of joy down that left-hand side. And if there's one area of the pitch where we're strong, it's down that left. So if we can get Saka, Aubameyang, Kieran Tierney overlapping, we could be in business. We might be able to do something more than what we've been doing recently. As for Everton, obviously I've gone with Dominic Calvert-Lewin. How can you not? In all competitions, the man has scored over and above anything he's done in any other season of his career. He's been electric. He's been sensational. And he's going to be a massive danger for us from set plays and from running in behind. A man enjoying the best form of his career is not likely to let up anytime soon. He's not going to fall off a cliff. This is probably going to be the standout season for him. Full stop. So can we stop him scoring? It's going to be a huge ask, particularly with Gabriel missing. So we've got to be aggressive, as we've tried to be in recent weeks. Aggressive but sensible. There's no point getting 2 yellows trying to be aggressive and win it on the halfway line. And we've got to keep him quiet. That's where almost all of their goals are coming from. So take him out of the game, we've got a much better chance. In terms of our chances for this one, it's not looking fantastic. We're not, as I've said before, we're not going to turn it all around overnight. But Everton, if nothing else, can be got at in a way that some of the teams we've faced recently we haven't been able to get at. As I've said, they've got problems down their left-hand side. They've conceded a lot of goals. Teams have had joy. They give up chances, Everton. What we're going to need is some ruthlessness. And funnily enough, we haven't been anything like ruthless for a long time. But let's get Aubameyang in a decent position. Let's get Saka running into spaces. And who knows? Who knows? Stopping them scoring is going to be the tall order, given the defensive absences we're going to be facing. But I think we will score. I think we will score in this one. Whether we can stop them is another matter. But fingers crossed. Let's, if nothing else, hope that we see better. That's it from me for another one, Gunners. It's a short and sweet one. Let's look forward to a Saturday that's not a Sunday. We have played the late Sunday slot for far too long now, and I am frankly fucking sick of it. It's a cursed slot. We're back on Saturday. Okay, it's a bit later than other games, but if nothing else, that's going to be a relief so that we can salvage something from our weekends. Come on, you Gunners. Let's start to move towards bigger and better things. Stay tuned after the game. We'll be coming back with a reaction and a blog. As ever, thanks for listening. Take care.